everyone. Today we're going to be talking about domain and range of different relations. So the domain is all the input values or the x values of a relation. So the domain is all the input values or the x values of that relation. The range is all the output values or the y values of a relation. So the domain is all the input values, all the x values. The range is all the output values, all the y values. Now we have one more piece of vocabulary that we need to talk about. We have seen these, but I want to make sure that we go ahead and define what a discrete graph is. So we see a bunch of different kinds of graphs. The ones we've been working on are discrete graphs. So discrete graphs give specific points on the coordinate plane. With a discrete graph, you have a point here and 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 a point here. They're individual points on the graph. Okay, so normally we're used to seeing graphs that are one continuous line, so something like that, but that is not a discrete graph. That's what we call a continuous graph. For our purposes right now, we're only going to be working with discrete graphs where they have individual points, and I only care about those points. We've already worked with representing discrete graphs in different ways, so taking the graph and making it a set of ordered pairs, or taking the graph and making it a mapping. Today we're just going to focus on how to find the domain and the range of those discrete graphs. So for discrete graphs, just like with other relations we're going to work with, the domain and the range are going to be written as a set, which means we're just going to list the domain and list the range. So to find the domain of a discrete graph, the first thing I want to do is identify the points on the graph. And I'm going to do that by identifying the ordered pairs for each point. So I'm going to do this point right here first. Remember, to figure out how to get to this point, I'm going to use the x value to tell me whether to go left or right, and I'm going to find the y value, which tells me how to move up or down. So if I'm looking at this point here, I start from the origin, and I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the left. So my x value is going to be -5. Remember, if the number is positive in the x place, it tells me to go to the right. If the number is negative in the x place, it tells me to go to the left. In this case, I went left 5, so I want to write -5. Then I'm going to go up or down. In this case, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 down. Again, if I have a positive number in my y place, it tells me to go up. If I have a negative number in my y place, it tells me to go down. In this case, because I'm going down, I want to use -4 as my y. And I'm just going to repeat this process to identify the ordered pairs for each of these points. So for this point right here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the left, so -3. And then I'm going to go 1, 2 up, so 2 is my y. From here, I'm going to go 0 left or right. I don't want to move left or right at all, so 0 is going to be my x value. And then I'm going to go 1 down. Again, going down makes me turn that y to a negative number, so my y is going to be -1. Then I'm going to go 1 to the right and 2 up, 1 to the right in the x place, 2 up in the y place. And lastly, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 4 to the right gives me +4. 6 up gives me +6. So now I've identified the ordered pairs for each of these. When I'm finding the domain, my next step is going to be to identify the x value or the input value of each ordered pair. Okay. So for my first ordered pair, my x value is -5. Remember, the x values are the first value in your ordered pair. So I've got -5, I've got -3, 0, 1, and 4 as my x values. So once I've identified those, all I need to do is list the x values in set notation. And set notation requires a couple of things. First, you want curly brackets around. Okay? Your curly brackets don't have to be beautiful. They don't have to look exactly like mine, but some sort of attempt at a curly bracket will put this in set notation. So I want curly brackets. I also want commas to separate. I want this to go least to greatest. And I want no repeats here. Okay, so I'm going to list all of my x values. I'm going to start with my curly bracket. Again, it doesn't have to look beautiful, it just has to be there. And I'm going to look and list all of my x values, starting from the least and going to the greatest. So the smallest x value I have is here at -5. So -5 is my first one. Then I've got -3, so I'm going to put a comma and -3. I'm going to put a comma. Then I'm going to list my 0. I'm going to list my 1 and my 4. Okay, so I'm listing these with curly brackets around and commas in the middle to separate each value. When I'm ready to take a look at the range, I'm going to do the same first step. I want to identify the ordered pairs for each point. Fortunately for me, I've already done that when I did my domain, but I want to make sure that I have an ordered pair for each of these points going forward. Then I'm going to identify the y values because I'm looking for the range. Remember, the domain tells me I want to look at the x values. The range, on the other hand, tells me I want to look at the y values. So this time I'm going to look at all my y values. I have -4. Remember, it's the second number in your ordered pair. I've got -4, 2, -1, 2, and 6. Then my last step is going to be to list these values in set notation. Remember, when we use set notation, we want those curly brackets around. So I'm going to start with those. They don't have to be beautiful, they just have to be there. I'm going to use commas to separate my values. And then I'm going to list these least to greatest, and I'm going to make sure I don't repeat. So my least value in this case is -4. So I'm going to put a comma to separate that from the next one. My next least value is -1. Then I have 2 2's as my y values. I have -3, 2, which has a y value of 2, and I have 1, 2, which has a y value of 2. I only need to write that 2 one time. Remember, I don't want any repeats in my lists. So even though I have 2 different points with 2 as the range, I can only write that one time. And then lastly, my greatest y value is that 6. Okay? So let's try these. I'm going to show you 1 and 2, and then I'm going to give you an opportunity to try 3 and 4. So remember, my first step is to identify the ordered pairs that go with each point. So for this point right here, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the left. So -3 is my x value. Then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 down. So -3, -4 is my point. For this point, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the left. So -3 is my x value. Then I'm going to go 1 up. So 1 is my y value. It's positive because I'm moving up. For this point, I'm going to go 1 to the left. So -1 is my x. And then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up. So +5 is my y. For this one, I'm going to go 1 to the right. So +1 is my x value. Then I'm going to go 1, 2 down, so negative 2 is my y. Lastly, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, so positive 5 is my x, because I'm moving to the right instead of the left. And then I'm going to go 2 up, so positive 2 will be my y value. Okay. To find the domain, I'm going to look at all of my x values. So I've got negative 3, 1, 5, and negative 1. I'm going to list them in set notation, so I want my curly brackets. And I'm going to list them least to greatest with no repeats. Okay, least to greatest with no repeats. So my smallest x value is negative 3. I happen to have 2 of those, but it's okay. I only need to write negative 3 once. If you want to cross these off because you already accounted for them, I think that's fine. My next smallest x value is negative 1, followed by 1 and 5. And I close it off with another curly bracket. The process is the same for the range, except this time, instead of looking at the x values, I'm going to look at my y values. So my y values are negative 4, 1, 5, 2, and negative 2. I'm going to list these in order from least to greatest, inside some curly brackets, and I'm going to make sure I don't have any repeats. So my smallest y value is negative 4. Then I've got negative 2, 1, 2, and 5. I have no repeats here, so just the list will do. Okay, try one more really quick, and then I'll let you practice this on your own. So my ordered pairs for my given points. Negative 1, 2, 3, 3 to the left, and 2 down gives me negative 3, negative 2 as my point. 2 to the left gives me negative 2, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up gives me positive 5. So negative 2, positive 5 is my value there. Then I've got this point here. I go 0 left or right, so 0 is my x value. I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down, so it's negative 5. I'm going to do this one next because it's close. I'm going to go 1, 2, 3 to the right, so positive 3 is my x value. Then I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down, so negative 6 is my y. Remember, that needs to be negative because I'm moving down. And lastly, I've got this point. I go 2 to the right, so 2 is my x value. I go 3 up, so 3 is my y value. And finally, I am done with my points. In order to find the domain, remember that I'm looking at the x values, which are the first values in my ordered pair. So I've got negative 3, 0, 3, 2, and negative 2. I'm going to list them in set notation. So I've got a curly bracket. Like I said, it doesn't have to be pretty. And I'm going to write them least to greatest with no repeats. So my least is negative 3, followed by negative 2, 0, 2, and 3. No repeats there, so I'm good. I can look at my range, which are my y values, which is the second value in my ordered pair. So I've got negative 2, negative 5, negative 6, 3, and 5. I list them least to greatest with no repeats. My least is negative 6, followed by negative 5, negative 2, 3, and 5. There's no repeats in this one, so I'm good to go. Why don't you take a second and see if you can find the domain and the range for number 3 and 4. Go ahead and pause the video, write down the domain and the range in your notes, and then come back here and check your answers against mine. All right, so for number 3, for your domain, the x values, the first value in your ordered pairs, you should have gotten negative 6, negative 1, 2, 4, and 5. Remember, we're listing those least to greatest. For your range, you should have gotten negative 2, negative 1, 0, and 3. I know that we have 2 points with 3 as your y value, but remember that we don't want to repeat those when we list out the range. For number 4, same stuff. For the domain, you should have gotten negative 5, negative 3, 0, 1, and 4. For the range, you should have gotten negative 4, 1, 2, just 1, 2, even though we have 2 separate points, I don't want to repeat, and 6. All right, so now that we've found the domain and the range of some discrete graphs, we can look at domain and range of different relations. And the process here really is the same. So the first thing I did before was to give me the ordered pairs of the points that I was looking at. In this one, we should already have the x and y values available to us. We just have to look at them. So full disclosure, I did forget to put a relation here, so I just made one up. But we're going to go ahead and take a look at the domain first. So in the domain of a relation, just like before, the first thing I want to do is identify the input values or the x values. Okay, so those input values are going to be in different places depending on the type of relation you're looking at, whether it's a map or a graph or a table or a set of ordered pairs. So in this case, I have a set of ordered pairs, which means that my x value or my input value comes first in that ordered pair. So if I'm going to identify these, I want the very first number. So I've got -3, 3, 5, and -6. So the next step is going to be to list those values in set notation. Okay, remember when we do set notation, we want curly brackets and commas to separate. We want to do them least to greatest. And we want no repeats. So when I look at my domain, I've got -3, 3, 5, and -6. I want to write those least to greatest. So my least is -6, followed by -3, then 3, and then 5. Okay, so I write them least to greatest. In this one, I didn't have any repeating, so I'm okay to go there. Next, I'm going to look for my range. Remember that the range in an ordered pair is all of the y values. And the y values in an ordered pair are located in the second place. So to find the range, I'm going to identify the output values, or the y values. Switching colors in the middle. And I'm going to list those values in set notation. Remember, that means I want curly brackets and commas to separate. I want to list them least to greatest. And I want no repeats. So let me identify my output values. Remember, it's the second number in an ordered pair. So I've got 4, 1, 4, and -2. I'm going to list them, curly brackets. My least is -2. I want to go least to greatest. Then I've got 1 and 4. Now, even though I have 2 4s here, I still only want to write it once because I want no repeats in my list of the range. Okay. So this is going to look different depending on how the information is presented. I'm going to show you an ordered pair and a table, and then I'm going to let you try those. Then I'm going to show you a map and refresh your memory a little bit on a discrete graph and let you try those. So when I'm looking at the domain in number 1, remember when I'm looking at the domain, I want all of the x values, which are going to be your first number in the ordered pair. So I've got -1, 4, 2, 8, and 4. I'm going to list those in set notation, curly brackets around it, in order from least to greatest and with no repeats. So my least is -1, followed by 2, you want to check these off as you write them down, that might be a good idea. Then I've got a 4 here and a 4 here, but I only want to write one 4 in my domain. That covers both of those. And then 8. For my y values in my range, I'm going to look at my second number, 3, 8, 2, -2, and 6. Again, I'm going to write them in set notation, so I've got curly brackets. I start with the least number, in this case that's -2, followed by 2, 3, 6, and 8. This one doesn't have any repeats, so I'm good to go there. For number 3, the process is the same, the information is just presented a little differently. So I'm looking for the domain, which is my x values. Remember, in a table, the x values are presented here on the left side. So my x values here are 1, 4, -7, 4, and -1. I've identified them. Now I can list them, just like I was doing before. Curly bracket. I've got my least one is -7, followed by -1, followed by 4. Even though I have 2 4s, I only want to write one of those in my list. And then, nope, made a mistake here. 4 is not my next least. 1 is my next least, so I'm going to write 1 there. Then I'm going to write my 4. Again, I only need to write one of those. Same process for the range, which is my y values. My y values are on the right side, -4, -3, 6, 2, and 0. I want to write these in order from least to greatest. So my least is -4, followed by -3, 0, 2, and 6. Okay, think about how these would go on a number line. Okay, -4 is my smallest number. It would go all the way to the left on a number line. So it's going to come first in my set of the range. Okay, go ahead and try number 2 and number 4. Pause the video. Go ahead and try to write the domain and the range of each of those, and then come back here and check your answers against my answers. All right, so for number 2, for your domain, all of your x values listed from least to greatest, -2, -1, 3, 6, and 12. Your y values to give your range are 2, 9, and 18. I know that I have more than one 2, and I know that I have more than one 9 here in my ordered pairs, but I don't want to repeat those when I write my range. Number 4, the x values, the domain are -1, 0, 2, and 3. Again, I don't want to repeat that 3, even though I do have it twice. Then with my y values in my range, I've got 0, 1, 2, 3, and 5. All right. Next, we're going to look at a map. In my opinion, the maps are the easiest to do domain and range for because a lot of the work of domaining and ranging has been done for you by whoever created the map. So remember that your domain is all your x values. And in a map, your x values are here in your left bubble. Fortunately, the process of making a map asks us to already get rid of any repeats, and most of the time it also asks us to put it in least to greatest order. So you already shouldn't have any repeats. All you have to do is list them from least to greatest. So in this case, I have -4, -1, -2, and 1. In this one, they didn't list them from least to greatest, but I don't have any repeats. So I've got -4, -2, -1, and 1. All I did was list those in order from least to greatest. Same thing with my range. A lot of the work is done for me because all of my y values go here in the second bubble, and they've already tried to write them in least to greatest order and tried to take out any repeats that they have. So my y values, or my range for this one, is -1, 3, 4, and 7, and those are already in least to greatest order, so I'm good to go there. For number 7, just to refresh your memory a little bit, we're going to first find the ordered pairs. So I've got -1, -2, -3, -4, +2, -4, 2. Then I've got -2, 0. I went 2 to the left and 0 up or down. Then I've got 0, -2, 0 left or right, and then 2 down. I've got 2, 0. I went 2 to the right and 0 up or down. And then I've got 4, 2. 4 to the right and 2 up. Again, I'm going to look for my domain. I'm going to look for my x values. It's going to be the first number in each of my ordered pairs. So -4, -2, 0, 2, and 4. I'm going to list them least to greatest with no repeats. So I've got -4 is my smallest, then -2, 0, 2, and 4. For my range, I'm going to look at my y values, 2, 0, -2, 0, and 2. I'm going to list them least to greatest with no repeats. -2 is my least. Then I've got 0. It's okay that I have 2 separate points. I only need to write 1 0 in my range. And then same thing for my 2. It's all right that I have 2 of those. I just want to write one once. Okay. Go ahead and try number 6 and number 8. Write them on your paper, and then come back here and check your answers. All right, to wrap up, check your answers for 6 and 8. Number 6, your x values are in the left bubble, so I've got -3, -1, 2, and 4. Those ones are already in order from least to greatest, so that one was pretty easy. The y values, the range, are in the right bubble, so I've got 0, 4, and 7. Number 8, I needed to figure out my ordered pairs for each of these, so I've got -4, 0, -3, 2, 1, -6, 1, 3, and 2, 5. Then I look at all my x values to find my domain, which is -4, -3, 1, and 2. I don't want to repeat the 1, even though I have 2 points that have 1 for the x. That's okay, I only need to write it once. And then my y values, my range, gives me -6, 0, 2, 3, and 5. Make sure to write down any questions you have about this and bring them to class next time.